And we turn to the other side of the table now, where there sits the senior senator from Arizona, a member of the Armed Services Committee, senior Republican on the Armed Services Committee, John McCain. Senator McCain, should we have seen this coming?
I think so. We should have seen this coming when the Egyptian government failed to move forward with a process of democratization. The last election was particularly flawed. By the way, Madeleine Albright, the head of NDI, and I, head of R-Ariz, had called for observers. Russ Feingold and I had a resolution in support of human rights in Egypt. So a lot of this should have been seen. This administration and the liberal left in America viewed Bush's democracy efforts as a excuse to go to war. And when President Obama refused to support the people in the streets of Tehran, when a young woman bled to death named Neda before it was seen by the world, and this administration did nothing, that sent a very bad signal to all of these dictatorships.
Well, what should we have done? You're not saying we should have gone to war with
No,
Iran.
but we should have spoken up for them, just as Ronald Reagan spoke up for the people behind the Iron Curtain, just as throughout our history we have had a fundamental belief and commitment that all of us are endowed with certain inalienable rights. And by the way, these winds of change that are blowing, I think that I would be a little less cocky in the Kremlin with my KGB cronies today if I were Vladimir Putin. I would be a little less secure in the seaside resort that the President Hu and a few men who govern and decide the fate of 1.3 billion people. I don't think this is confined to the Middle East, just as we've believed that human rights are universal. I think the President has handled this situation well. I think that we need to get a transition that really understands that elections are not the answer. We've had election after election in places that have been meaningless. It is the apparatus, it is the modalities, it is the education of voters. It's all of the things that go to a free and fair election. And I think that IRI, NDI, National Endowment for Democracy, who helped the countries behind the Iron Curtain after it fell to move forward with a free and fair election. We don't want this revolution hijacked by an extremist organization, and we've seen examples of both over the last 20 years.
Well, I want to ask you about that because I want to ask you about the Muslim Brotherhood. But first, I mean, do you think this was an intelligence failure on the part of the United States, or was it just a misunderstanding by our diplomatic corps?
A lot of it's understandable, Bob. The Egyptians helped us in the fight against al-Qaeda. And by the way, this revolution is a direct repudiation of al-Qaeda, who believe that the only way you bring about change is through violence. They were incredibly important in the Israeli-Palestinian peace process. They provided us with a great deal of intelligence and help. So I can understand that side of the equation, but there was a failure to realize that a sophisticated, educated, freedom-yearning people, sooner or later, were going to demand their rights.
What about
by the way, my hindsight is 20/20.
This whole question of the Muslim Brotherhood. Do you think the Muslim Brotherhood should be a part of the negotiations leading toward these reforms? Should they be a part of the new government?
I think that's up to the Egyptian people and government. I'm very concerned about a lot of the behavior of the Muslim Brotherhood and a lot of the positions they've taken, including their failure to recognize Israel's right to exist. So I'm very worried about it. The best way to ensure that no extremist element hijacks this election is to have a free and fair election that is truly transparent, that brings in all the democratic forces and factors in Egypt into this process. And voter education has a lot to do with it.
Well, how do you view the Muslim Brotherhood? I mean, you know, I think the head of national intelligence, General Clapper, kind of caught Washington's attention when he said on Capitol Hill he thought they were a secular organization.
His spokesperson later took back that statement.
Well, that's the old joke, what the captain meant to say.
That's right. I am concerned about it. We have reasons to be concerned about the Muslim Brotherhood, but at the same time, for us to dictate what the role they should play, in a way, may be harmful to us. Because, as you just heard that young man say, this revolution is theirs, and they want us to assist. They don't want us to dictate.